Someday comes and we all must let go. What we love is all we have to show. Someday comes and we all must go. Someday will come. Someday will come.
스파스티티 인 스트로크 페이션트라는 주제를 가지고요. 서유환 전 쇼, 닥터 존 쇼께서
The most common, of course, cause of impairment is the hemiparesis, and spasticity is a huge problem in these patients, mainly because it can be very, result in considerable amount of dysfunction. And people that have been dealing with the spasticity can, you know that how much effort it takes just to do normal activities of daily living. The definition I won't go through in big detail. It's just that it is a velocity-dependent condition that as you accelerate the amount of movement, the more that you get the tone. So the big problem in spasticity of these patients are to prevent the progressive contraction and the things that will quickly result in disability that is very, very hard to change. The pathophysiology of spasticity is not completely understood, but certainly we are learning a lot more about it, and a lot of research is being done in that area. Mainly, the disabling factor of this is that if it is unattended to, then the shortening of that muscle takes place, and that results in contractures and limitations that are sometimes impossible to correct. So why would we want to even treat spasticity? These are very common reasons for preventing contracture, hygiene, preventing the pressure ulcers, and just the cosmesis is deformity and the cosmetic appearance is very, a real big problem. Difficulty in even using a brace. Now, why would we not treat spasticity? There are really very few reasons, but some feel, particularly the spinal cord patient, they want the spasticity just to give them the awareness that their legs are moving, even though it is not voluntary. Sometimes they like the spasticity movement. And of course, there are some potential side effects if you do treat it, and the expense. In the upper extremity, particularly the two areas that are the most difficult to deal with, in my experience in the stroke, have been the shoulder and hip. And the shoulder may be now spastic, which is already a problem, maybe from arthritis, adhesive capsulitis, rotator cuff problems. All of these are major problems among the stroke patients, and you see them every day. Typical posturing that results in the deformities from stroke. You get a plantar varus, you have an upturned big toe, and hip adduction. The most common areas of the leg are a extensor pattern that results in that. So anything can exacerbate spasticity, from fatigue. I mean, if I were spastic tonight, I should be demonstrating it with fatigue, and it can be even an ingrotomy or fecal impaction, bladder problems. Knowing the functional anatomy, we often, in our gait analysis lab, we will do a dynamic EMG. I used to do this a lot more, and it's a good clinical tool to teach residents, because with the dynamic EMG, we can see the muscles that are dynamically spastic and posturing a arm or leg better than until you develop actual contractures. Then, of course, you're getting fixed deformity. Sometimes a motor point block. And the gait labs are very good, but expensive to do. So these are questions that we ask. How much is that spasticity preventing stretch, range of motion, and the normal activities of daily living? So what would be our rationale? This would be if it is definitely interfering with these types of things, and then it's something to address. So as in anything in rehabilitation, we have to really know the patient. That's why I had always liked doing orthopedics as a piece of rehab, because unless I really knew the patient and could put that into context with their real function, I was not able to honestly tell this patient this is the best treatment. You know, I could do a surgery, or I could do a treatment, but unless you have the occupational, the physical therapy, the psychologist, the whole team of rehab, a stroke is a devastating injury, and it involves that patient and their family, and so it cannot be done alone. So these are possible treatment goals that we've already been addressing that we can discuss. And these are the team that you right here, the physiatrist, PT, OT, and family caregiver. So these kinds of things are put together in a plan and discussion with the family and education. And then, of course, the follow-up ongoing assessment and ongoing patient-family education. What our treatment options are and how we're going to do that. So what are the kinds of things we can do, are things that medications, various kinds of occupational physical therapy, induced constraint therapy, a variety of these things. So a variety of things are done in a step ladder measure. to try to deal with that. Pharmacologically, in our experience, or my experience, mostly these have not been very successful. Most of the oral medications have been too sedating. The side effects have been usually, now if you treat them very early, it may be very good. Valium is one you're familiar with, but we rarely use Valium anymore for spasticity. The baclofen, oral baclofen is a gamma selective agonist. So I do use it a fair amount in children in low doses, and sometimes it is helpful, particularly in combinations with Botox. And probably use more of it in children because I'm trying to buy time with about anything, and sometimes combinations of baclofen and Xanaflex in low doses do help. However, the side effects have been often drowsiness, blood pressure changes, things that are contraindicated. Oral baclofen, most of the time I get into doses that particularly I would use for spinal cord in a stroke patient. They cannot tolerate that for very long because of the drowsiness and fatigue. Most of the time they may go to an oral dose of sometimes 20 milligrams 3 times a day, but that's about the longest dosing, the dose that I've used. Dantrium is somewhat helpful, not as good as in a spinal cord, some of the other patients, and you do have to, of course, watch the chemical changes that occur in the liver that require monitoring of the blood chemistries. Xanaflex or baclofen, and sometimes get very good results. The Xanaflex, and again, you do have to monitor liver function tests. Usually start on a very low dose and titrate up to see usually 12 to 16 milligrams a day is about the most that I've been able to do without major side effects. So the physical occupational therapists are very critical to determine those initial range of motion, passive active contractions that are dynamic limitations. Watching the balance, some of these patients, as you know, they may have fairly good muscle control, but their balance is greatly impaired, particularly on the left hemi with neglect or a tendency to really lose their balance, and ambulation is a bigger problem due to that than motor power. And also looking at their disability in terms of their access to the community, work, and school. All of these things are things that we have preached here at the ACE Gentleman from the time we started rehabilitation, and it's still, and of course, assessing how much all of these things interfere with your self-care, bed mobility, and transfers. I found that insurance that we deal with will not continue that very long because it's not something that gives sustained result. AFOs are very hard to use in many of the spastic extremity because of the pressure areas you get in the margins of the brace. And various positioning braces are helpful, but mostly for maintaining position. I do a lot of serial casting in particularly upper extremities. And we do a lot of that in children also in CP in combination with Botox or phenol, and then do serial casting for about 6 weeks. Able to put them into a DAFO or some type of a brace. And we can buy many years sometimes in the young children without having to do surgery. There's a lot of things we can do with serial casting. Chemical denervation, we do a considerable amount of Botox. We haven't done, I did more phenol here at Yesupenman than I do now, and we're going back to doing some phenol, particularly where you have a lot of muscles to inject. It's been good in the gastroc and in the adductors in the obturator nerve. Botulism A, you have here in Korea, as well as the Dysport, which is another form of A, and botulism B is myeloblock, which is not in Korea as far as I know. The Botox or Allergan product, I've used that probably, well over 10 years. And it has been very well covered by most insurances, even the in children, although from the FDA standpoint, the Botox is only approved for facial spasm, torticollis, and not for the things we're doing. But if Medicare, in our system, if Medicare does cover it, then the insurance companies follow on that guide, and they have been covered, although it probably will be approved for this use in some time by Medicare. Vials in some patients. Probably the max I've used 800. Children, usually by weight, usually 10 to 15 mics or 10 to 15 units per kilogram. But that's gradually resolved, and by using the Botox, then I can use that in combination for getting better casting results. Mechanism of action, basically you are everywhere. I try to document the amount of fixed contracture that's present. So what I use it mostly for is probably more upper extremity, and particularly in patients that do not have fixed contracture, or people would be doing it for contraction control. I use electrostimulation more than EMG. I have not found EMG to be as good for me because I can more specifically identify the muscle I want. With electrostimulation, maybe you can identify the motor point a little better with EMG, but I've generally found that, particularly in children, I can do use only one injection and go through different quadrants, different depths to achieve the results I need without multiple types of injections. It kind of develops the regimen. We're doing a number of the children under general anesthesia, and that's been good for these patients just almost on a 3-month basis. I've used it for a lot of other things. One patient I have, we do it every 3 months just because she has brain injury and she pinches, and she has such a severe pinch that we're Botoxing her just to weaken her pinch so that she doesn't hurt her family members. So they bring her in every 3 months for that purpose. Works well. We have them go to physical therapy or occupational therapy and do electrostimulation to get better. But I'm not sure that's true. I don't know that insurance will cover that in our case. The intrathecal baclofen has probably been our biggest tool in the spastic stroke patient. Mainly because, as I say, the severity of the problem for me has been mostly the locked shoulder and the locked hip that I cannot release by surgery, certainly by Botox. I can, to some degree, by surgery. So, why would you do intrathecal versus oral baclofen? It's a very, very small dose, so you're delivering it to the specific site in the spinal fluid, and you're not getting the oral side effects. Intrathecal baclofen, this is a GABA antagonist. Normally, let's say we'll try a patient on oral baclofen, and to the degree that they can't tolerate it, then we would consider a test dose for intrathecal baclofen and lower. And the majority of the patients that we do this in have really liked it. And depending on the level you put the catheter, you can affect the upper. Most of the time, if a patient has upper extremity spasticity, I try to put the catheter about T3. And if it's mainly lower, then usually around T10. Some thought that you could even go as high as, I haven't had them as high as in the cervical region, but I think when I've done. So how do we do that? We bring the patient in for a day, we give them a test dose. Most of the time I give them a 15 mic bolus, spinal bolus of baclofen. We let them stay down for 2 hours, and then physical therapy. We'll come in and start grading and exercising them. It lasts usually about 10 hours. The patient will come in usually at 8 o'clock, and then go home by 6 o'clock at night. Now the thing we almost always tell the patient is for them to remember what it was like that day of the test dose, because the following day, test dose really want the implant. So we need to see a positive response. We need to educate them so that they can be available to people that are managing the pump. Managing the pump is has to be definitely done by people knowledgeable. There are definitely complications, and the more you're in this, you will see every complication, and those sometimes can be very require fairly rapid resolution. So the pump itself has to be replaced. The new pump, we think about every 8 to 10 years. The old pump, which has been replaced this past 2 years, lasted about 5 years. Complications can be, the catheter can come out, it can kink. You can sometimes get about malfunction of the pump, and it's very, very rare. So the pump is regulated by a system that by telemetry you scan the abdomen and can then change the dosing. So the catheter, as I say, is put in just through a very large catheter threaded into place, and then in the children and in people who are very thin, will implant the pump subfascially so that it is very low profile. The newer children, we would not put them in, probably in somebody under 50 pounds, but if they're over 50 pounds, we have some children with pumps that are almost, well, it does cover half of their abdominal wall, but they do well. So for the initial patient, if they really qualify, then we go back and then start to sandwich over that their things like Botox or surgery. Before using the pump, I would always probably go to surgery very early. At this time, I don't. It's rare that I do surgery in the upper extremity, though I do it still a fair amount in the lower extremity to balance the foot. Dosing, probably anywhere from 300 to 600 mics per day, and many times dosing is even better even by bolus, using boluses. At this time, the new pump only has to be refilled every 6 months. The old pump 2 years ago had to be refilled every 3 months, so that has definitely improved things and need them very frequently. we do tendon transfers in the foot to give good balancing of the foot. So we'll do a lot of tendon lengthening, hip adductor tenotomy occasionally, and very frequently do the particularly a split anterior tib, split posterior tib transfer. Most commonly, I will do a split anterior, split posterior tib transfer with the heel cord lengthening and toe flexor release. Most of the time, we can then get the patient out of the brace. And sometimes, if the foot is still too supple, then we do need to do another bony procedure of triple arthrodesis, typically to stabilize the foot, and that definitely can, most of the time, make them brace free. Selective combinations of therapy can restore thinking. I don't know, I'm afraid we're not doing vacuum pump because of expense, and it's still a big problem for us and the team. That's been helpful. Thank you.
주님께서 주님의 역사를 이 땅 가운데 이루시고 아버지 하나님 주님께서 예수병원의 과거와 또 현재와 또 미래에 대한 주님의 계획과 주님의 뜻을 저에게 알게 하심을 감사드립니다. 하나님 아버지 주께서는 천지가 정말 주님 모든 일터요 아버지 하나님 주님께서는 천지 만물을 지으시고 모든 것을 조절하시고 모든 것을 이끄시는 것을 제가 고백합니다. 아버지 하나님 그 가운데서 저희가 하나님의 역사의 중심에 설 수 있도록 허락하심을 감사드립니다. 주님 이 이후에도 저희가 하나님의 역사의 가운데 설 수 있게 도와주시옵시고 또한 귀한 이렇게 정말 주님 저희를 위해서 헌신하시고 주님을 위해서 헌신하신 주님 서의원 성기사님을 지금 만날 수 있는 시간 허락하심을 감사드립니다. 주님 두 분을 통해 살아간 두 분의 모든 삶을 통해서 저희들 오늘 배우게 하시고 하나님의 뜻을 알게 하시고 하나님께 더욱더 나아갈 수 있는 귀한 시간이 될 수 있도록 도와주시옵소서. 아버지 하나님 두 분께 주님 마음의 중심이 잃지 않음과 주님 안에서 풍성한 생명을 누리는 것을 주께서 축복해 주시옵시고 또한 이런 모든 축복이 저에게 동일하게 임재할 수 있도록 도와주시옵소서. 아멘.
오직 내가 그리스도 예수께 잡힌 바 된 그것을 잡으려고 쫓아가노라. 형제들아 나는 아직 내가 잡은 줄로 여기지 아니하고 오직 한 일, 즉 뒤에 있는 것은 잊어버리고 앞에 있는 것을 잡으려고 푯대를 향하여 그리스도 예수 안에서 하나님이 위에서 부르신 부름의 상을 위하여 쫓아가노라. 아멘. 해밍웨이의 노인과 바다는 한때 널리 애독되던 작품입니다. 누구에게도 지지 않는 장사이기도 하였습니다. 그런데 벌써 84일이나 고기 한 마리 잡지 못해 큰 허탈감에 빠져 있었습니다. 그러나 85일째 상상도 못할 큰 고기가 낚시에 걸려들어 이틀 밤을 지새우면서 온갖 고통을 극기의 정신으로 이겨내면서 그 고기와 사투를 벌입니다. 그러나 상어들이 나타나서 그 고기를 베어먹기 시작하여 다시 상어들과 싸워야 했습니다. 상어들을 몇 마리 죽이긴 하였지만 연장마저 다 없어져서 결국은 상어들에게 고기살을 다 빼앗기고 머리와 뼈와 꼬리만 앙상하게 남은 그 고기를 배 단체 해안으로 돌아오게 됩니다. 그는 실패자인 것 같지만 위대한 실패자라고 돌아오는 것입니다. 누가 그 결과만 보고 그를 단순한 실패자로 낙인을 찍을 수 있겠습니까? 그 큰 고기와 이틀 밤을 지새우면서 사투하며 마침내 그 큰 고기를 잡은 과정이 더 중요한 것일 것입니다. 이 작품은 어떤 역경 속에서도 굴하지 않는 불굴의 인간상을 그려준 점에서 영원한 명작으로 남을 것입니다. 탁월성과 완전성은 결코 포만감을 느끼지 않으며 더욱 많은 것을 갈망하는 마음을 감소시키지 않는다. 그와는 반대로 더욱 정진하게 만든다. 사도의 말에서도 분명하게 나타나 있듯이 뒤에 있는 것을 잊어버리고 앞에 있는 것을 잡으려고 푯대를 향하여 쫓아간다. 에드워즈에 의하면 진정한 믿음은 자신에 대한 만족을 허용하지 않기 때문에 겸손은 구원의 신앙의 표시입니다. 사도 바울은 오늘 빌립보서에서 내가 하는 일은 오직 한 가지입니다. 뒤에 있는 것은 잊어버리고 앞에 있는 것을 향하여 몸을 내밀면서 그리스도 예수 안에서 하나님께서 위로부터 부르신 그 부르심의 상을 받으려고 목표점을 바라보고 달려가고 있습니다 하고 말하고 있습니다. 달려가야 했을 것입니다. 우리의 일생이 바울처럼 인생의 숭고한 목표를 위해 분투 노력하는 삶이 되었으면 좋겠습니다. 진정한 겸손은 하나님 앞에서의 겸손입니다. 하나님의 기준에 비추어 크게 부족함을 느끼는 겸손. 하나님이 기뻐하실 만큼 되지 못했고 하지 못했음을 느끼는 겸손이 진정한 겸손입니다. 이밤 하나님을 찬양하며 서로 교제하는 우리 모두 가운데 지금부터 영원토록 함께 하시기를 축원하옵나이다. 아멘.
여기까지 찾아오신 많은 분들을 대표해서 저희 김민철 병원장님께서 인사 말씀 해주시겠습니다.
우리 서여원 이렇게 오셨는데 환영하는 자리에 와주셔서 감사드립니다. 이 인사는 두 분께 드릴 인사에서 제가 간단히 영어로 말씀드리겠습니다. The Jesus Hospital again, and I would like to express tremendous gratitude to Dr. and Mrs. Shaw on behalf of the many who recollect the 12 years of love poured out on this hospital, on this land. In the midst of the rapid economic expansion after the devastation of such the Korean War, medical care in Korea was met with the unique challenge of such healthcare priorities evolving in an unprecedented rate. By pioneering every step of this development. In 1980, as you know, the first inpatient rehabilitation wing and the residency program for rehabilitation medicine in the country was established in the Jesus Hospital. In Korea, it was possible only because of Dr. and Mrs. Cho's dedication. Having the right perspective and the vision for the future needs in the very rapidly changing medical sphere is not easy in itself. However, dedicating one's life to live that vision is an entirely different story. It is something that requires the love of Jesus, attending to the need of another people, and offering the 12 most productive years of one's career. And it is this love that enables them to see the desperation of the disabled and neglected everywhere in this country. At present, nobody questions, and far more so, the concept of rehabilitation as a subspecialty of medicine. Jun, as you said, as you love, you can realize. And as you realize, you can see what is not the same as it was. Indeed, it was love that enabled Dr. and Mrs. Shaw to see the future need in Korea, of being sure of what they hoped for and certain of what they did not see. And now we have the evidence of their faith. Thank you again, Dr. and Mrs. Shaw, from the bottom of my and our all attendants' heart. And from now on, I don't want to make this welcoming reception a formal one. Rather, I'd like to all of you to keep the fellowship of this beautiful evening as a memorable reunion. Thank you very much.
제가 이 자리에 선 것은 현재 제가 예수병원 재활의학 동문회의 회장이라고 하는 직을 맡고 있습니다. 제가 두 번째 졸업생이에요. 그런데 우리 서현 박사님과 서신혜 사모님의 그 제자 중에서 서현 박사님의 정형외과 첫 번째 그 레지던트였던 제자분이 지금 세브란스 병원장을 맡고 계시는 박창일 원장님이시고요. 서현 박사님께서 그 재활의학과를 만드시고 그 제자를 키우셨을 때 김보욱 교수님께서 이제 첫 번째 제자가 되셨고 제가 두 번째입니다. 그리고 세 번째 제자가 김병식 전 국립재활병원장입니다. 그 후로 지금 윤영순 과장까지 여러 사람들이 이렇게 일을 하고 있는데 우리나라에서 모든 힘이 서현 박사님의 그 가르침에서 나왔다고 생각을 하고요. 저희는 그 예수병원 재활의학과 동문회라고 하는 그 이름을 너무도 자랑스럽게 그렇게 생각하면서 살았습니다. 제가 학교 쇼를 만난 것은 25년 전입니다. 대학을 막 졸업하고 말입니다. 그 지난 25년간을 생각해 보면 그때 전공의 1, 2년 차 동안에 제가 닥터 쇼께 배웠던 그것이 제 지난 25년을 이끌어 배웠던 것 같습니다. 그리고 그러한 그 정신이 저희들을 오늘까지 제가 서현 박사님에서 열매를 맺을 수 없지만 그 썩어졌을 때 열매를 맺는다고 하는 그 주님의 말씀이 정말 그분께서 몸소 실천하신 것이 아닐까 하는 생각이 들고요. 그러한 그 열매가 이제 저희가 그 씨앗이 자라서 나무가 되어진 게 바로 저희들이 아닌가 그런 생각이 들고요. 그래서 이제 우리가 많이 자랐다는 생각도 들고요. 또 우리가 이제 그런 그 무성한 나무가 되었는데 이제 앞으로 더 많은 또 다른 나무들을 키우고 또 우리가 많은 사람들에게 이롭게 할 수 있고 또 하나님의 영광을 위해서 쓰임 받을 수 있는 그런 사람이 되어야겠다는 생각을 하게 됩니다. 앞으로도 저희의 삶 동안에 또 다른 여러 측면에서 두 분께서 저희를 이끌어 주시리라 믿고 또 바랍니다. 오늘 오신 것 너무도 환영드리고요. 또 김민철 원사님과 예수병원에 다시 한번 감사를 드립니다. John and Sharon Show, on behalf of my all the alumni of the Department of PM&R, Presbyterian Medical Center, I would like to express our deepest thanks to both of you for your love and devotion to the patients in this country who need care of rehabilitation, and this hospital, PMC, and all of us. Your teaching and mentoring were the very special gifts of God to all of us, to restart and step up, working together in future for God and His glory. And please be our teacher and mentor forever to lead us to God more and more closer. We all love you so much. Welcome back home.
다음은 축하 공연이 있겠습니다. 필로스 색스폰 앙상블.
and your pioneering work in establishing rehabilitation medicine in Korea. I would like to express our sincere appreciation on behalf of all PMC staff and all those whose life you have touched. I hereby present this plaque as a token of our sincere gratitude for your dedication as a servant of our Lord. May the Lord bless you and our continued fellowship. July 15, 2007, Min-chul Kim, Director of the PMC, Jeonju, Korea.
and Sharon Shaw. Both of you founded the Rehabilitation Care Unit Presbyterian Medical Center in February 1980, which was the first rehabilitation care unit in Korea. It is one of the most many things you have done to serve God and love this medical center sincerely. We offer this plaque. In this time, we'll always remember your love for God and follow your steps in helping people in need. June 15, 2007, Rehabilitation Alumni Association in Presbyterian Medical Center.
Recognition of contribution present to John Shu and Sharon Shu. Your passion and dedication in Jesus to the Department of Rehabilitation Medicine in Presbyterian Medical Center have provided a solid foundation for the rehabilitation medicine to settle in Korea. We have always appreciated your valuable advice to us and all the fellows of RM, and we would like to express our sincere appreciation for your continued support and prayer. On behalf of our team, we present this flag for your contribution.
But as I said in the morning chapel, the beauty of the Korean people, their hearts, and their love for God is a thing that is never changing, and it is the greatest blessing for us to see the people that have been raised up through the work sphere and the leadership that has come from.
기쁘게 생각합니다. 한국에 와서 한국 여러 가지 변화한 모습을 많이 봤지만 한국 사람들의 사랑과 하나님을 높이는 그러한 마음들은 하나도 변하지 않은 것을 볼 수 있었습니다. 또한 아침에 설교에서 말씀드렸던 것처럼 이렇게 다시 올 수 있게 된 그러한 기쁨을 주신 하나님께 감사드리고, 또 여러분들이 특별히 그 김민철 원장님을 비롯해서 훌륭한 리더십을 그동안에 세우셨고, 또 그렇게 계속 병원을 계속 발전해 주신 것을 하나님께 같이 기쁘게 생각합니다.
So I mean, we're a bit overwhelmed by this kind of response, and to be able to see your faces and remember your care of us and our many efforts to bring our works here, that it is very humbling to be able to just be able to come back and renew old friendships. And I feel like we are now pushing leaders like Young Hee and Dr. Kim Bono and Siak Park and all the leaders that have come from this, being led through the charge now with many of our grandchildren, like Dr. Yoon.
특별히 김연희 과장이나 또 김봉욱 선생, 그리고 서울의 박창일 원장님과 같은 새로운 리더들을 세우시고, 또 그 밑에서 자라난 예수병원의 윤영순 과장과 같은 손자 제자들을 두게 된 것을 더 기쁘게 생각하고, 또 그런 기회를 통해서 이번에 그 와 있는 기간 동안에 이번 방문이 이 리더들을 보고 앞으로 좀 더 많은 일들을 하라고 더 재촉하게 되는 그런 기회가 됐다고 생각합니다. 다시 오게 된 것이 너무너무 기쁘고 또한 이렇게 여러분들이 거두신 여러 가지 결실들을 볼 수 있게 된 것을 하나님의 커다란 영광이라고 생각하고 감사하고 있습니다.
I'm having a lot of mixed emotions as I stand here. For one reason, I remember a very hot July day in 1972 when we were presented at the chapel. Actually, the morning after we arrived. And a lot has happened since then. We had a vision for God. We thought we knew what He wanted. We didn't know how to do it, but we were young and we didn't know it couldn't be done. And the Lord gave us key people. And I can't recognize all because I'll forget somebody. But one name that really does jump out is, and I think he just left, is Ian Bong Gibson.
over there. He's over there.
I'm just saying,
인봉 집사님.
please stand. Some of you who maybe were not here at that time is that this man was a carpenter. He had no brace shop experience whatsoever, but he had a clever mind and a good eye and loved people, and we watched him, and he took on the challenge. And in the early days when we had very little to work with, he was the one that provided it. He became a brace man. He became a orthopedist. And so there's so many, and I thank you very much for the opportunity.
여기 도착한 저녁 그 바로 다음 아침 채플에서 여러분들 배웠던 기억이 있고 또 그때 만났던 여러분들 중에 정말 잊지 못할 분들이 있습니다. 그때는 저희가 너무 젊었기 때문에 그때 하고 싶은 일들이 많았고 또 그걸 할 수 없다는 것도 몰랐습니다. 다 할 수 있는 줄 알았고 그 열심히 일을 했고 그랬지만 그 일이 가능하게 됐던 그 키퍼슨 중요한 분들을 만나게 됐는데 다 기억할 수 없지만 그 중에 아주 소중하게 기억되는 분이 그때 당시에 묵수로 일해주셨던 인봉 집사님이십니다. 인봉 집사님은 그때 특별하게 많은 교육을 받지는 않으셨지만 정말 사람들을 사랑하셨고 좋은 기술이 있으셨고 그리고 사람들을 또 가르치실 수 있었습니다. 그래서 만드는 걸 도와주셨고 결국 보조기를 만드시는 그 보조기 기사가 되셨습니다. 그래서 그 뒤에 재활의 한 팀이 되실 수 있었던 것을 기억하고 그런 한 분 한 분들이 도와주셔서 저희가 일을 하고 떠날 수 있었던 것을 감사를 드립니다.
I want to speak to the rehab team, to those who were here in the early days up until we left in '84. It was an incredible experience, and I think it was unique that we carved something new, and we did it together. And it was an exciting time. The nurses were able to receive certification for rehabilitation nurses. That was a first. They knew that their job was a little different. The patient was the center. It should be always, but in rehabilitation, as you know, it's a little bit different, the hard work. So I thank the physical therapists, and who are incredible, and our, at that time, very small occupational therapy group, and under Mr. Chang's direction, is growing. And you're often flying. There's one other unseen heroes. Chip Sunning is one of them, but another group, and I don't know if any of them are here. I hope that we do get to meet them. In the early days, we didn't have anything, and so we just drew it on paper. Our furniture, I think the chairs we bought, was made by the carpenters here at 예수병원. And thank you for that.
그리고 그 간호사들 다음으로 치료실을 이야기하지 않을 수 없는데 물리치료실, 작업치료실 같이 일했던 분들 다시 기억하게 됩니다. 특별히 제가 작업치료사였고 작업치료사로서 와서 있었고 다시 안신년을 갔을 때는 평가와 심리에 대한 석사를 공부를 하고 더 왔는데 그때 돌아오면서 정말 한국에서 한국적으로 만든 일들을 어떻게 하면 가지고 와서 많이 할 수 있을까 하는 생각만 가득했었고 원하는 것을 그냥 종이에 그려서 그걸 갖다 사러 다녔고 해달라고 부탁했고 놀랍게도 우리가 원했던 많은 것들을 바깥으로 멀리 가지 않아도 병원 안에 있었던 분들이 다 만들어주셔서 완벽하게 만들어가면서 일할 수 있었습니다. 재활병동 저쪽에 처음 우리가 오픈하던 때 하나하나 필요한 것들을 그렇게 만들게 되었고 작업치료실은 물리치료실에 비해 훨씬 작았었는데 그때 물리치료에서 같이 일하셨던 분들도 필요한 거 하나하나를 같이 그려가면서 같이 만들게 되었고 그래서 우리가 단지 월급 받으러 그냥 일하러 오는 직장이 아니었고 우리는 하나하나 같이 일하는 정말 재활 가족이 되어서 일할 수 있었습니다.
Came to our house one night, late at night. She had taken a late bus to come to see Dr. Shaw about a residency. Maybe not at that night, but a few meetings later, we were certain that she was the one that got sent. And then he blessed us with community. And these two women, of course, we had our therapy and all, but they worked with the therapist. They listened to the therapist, which isn't really what was done regularly. And they wanted to learn. And they wanted to learn outside of the box. They wanted to learn to think. And by golly, they did. And now they are, we've sent them out here. You on the staff have sent them out to be the leaders for rehabilitation. And it's an exciting thing that we're blessed to see.
그다음에 전공의들을 말씀드리지 않을 수 없는데 어느 여름날 밤에 김봉옥이 찾아와서 재활의학과 하겠다 그랬고 그리고 몇 번 김봉옥을 만난 뒤에 이 사람이야말로 하나님 보내셨구나 하고 생각할 수 있었습니다. 그리고 머지않아 김연희 선생을 같이 보내주셔서 이 두 여자들이 정말 열심히 일했고 그리고 이 사람들이 예수병원에서 같이 일했을 뿐 아니라 새로운 것들을 배우기를 원했고 특별히 제가 놀랬던 거는 그때 한국 문화에서는 가능하지 않았던 치료사들한테 의사들이 배우겠다고 이 대목에도 설명하자면 미세쇼가 작업치료사였기 때문에 한국 의사들을 가르치고 싶어도 의사들이 배우려고 하지 않아서 못 가르치고 있었던 게 많았었습니다. 저희 둘을 만나신 뒤에 감히 의사들이 감히 치료사한테 어떻게 배우겠다고 할 수 있느냐 하는 그 문을 넘어서는 걸 보고 정말 열심히 가르쳤고 이제는 예수병원을 넘어서 더 많이 가르치라고 예수병원 바깥으로 두 사람을 내보내게 되었습니다.
So I'd just like to say that it's not very often that we see fruit, and we've been blessed to come back 23 years later and see the amazing changes in the 예수병원 and the tremendous technology, but exciting also that we know your heart for the mission that 예수병원 started with, and Dr. Kim, his leadership is making that such a priority, and that as your hearts are tuned to God, that truly you are now the sending body, and we are so grateful to be able to just spend this time that we would never have thought we could, and we need prayer for to bring to fruition the true mission that has been started here in this hospital.
이번 여행을 통해서 그 결과들을 저희들이 일한 결과가 아니라 하나님께서 일해오신 그 결과들을 볼 수 있는 기회가 된 것을 정말로 큰 은혜로 생각하고 기쁘게 생각합니다. 특별히 예수병원에서 김민철 원장님을 위시해서 그 리더십을 세우셔서 지금까지 이끌어 오시고 또 예수병원이 처음에 세워졌던 목적대로 그 선교라고 하는 최초의 사명을 잊지 않고 다시 그 어떠한 모습으로 예수병원과 선교를 도와야 되는지를 다시 생각하게 할 수 있는 기회가 되었습니다. 사실 이런 기회를 아무나 가지는 게 아니기 때문에 이렇게 정말 기쁘게 다시 와서 23년 지난 지금에 돌아와서 그런 열매들을 볼 수 있게 된 것을 정말 하나님께 감사를 드립니다.
일일이 소개해드리면은 저희가 나이 살 것 같아서요. 제가 오신 분들을 그 순서대로 방문에 적어주신 순서대로 성함만 다 불러드리겠습니다. 그래서 잘 숨은 그림 찾기 하듯이 잘 찾아보시고요. 만찬 때 잘 만나서 오랜만에 어떤 분이 오셨나 제가 간략하게 말씀드리겠습니다. 종합복지관의 서광석 선생님, 충남대학교 재활의학과의 김님, 한국재활복지대학의 이모용 선생님, 예수대학교 이사장이신 공승구 선생님, 대전 OK 재활의학과 송병대 선생님, 예수병원 보조기실 이강원 선생님, 원광대학병원의 양충용 선생님, 전북대학병원의 박성환 선생님, 덕진 재활의학과의 최윤태 선생님, 예수병원 병리과의 주병희 선생님 오셨습니다.